Tennessee Titans can be true contenders by 2027, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they need to do to get there on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. On today's show, it is time to put on your two-tone glasses, get optimistic, get excited about the Tennessee Titans' bright future ahead as I tell you exactly how the Titans can become a true contending team by 2027. We're going to talk about what the Titans already have, the coaching search, and who could best guide them to that contention status. We're going to talk about the work that Mike Borgonzi has ahead in the draft and in free agency, and we'll talk about the new jerseys and the new stadium that lurks just around the corner for the Titans that can usher in this new era of contention. Before we get into all of it, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Again, we got a lot of decisions ahead that we're going to talk about on today's show. You want to stay up to date as they all unfold. Make sure that you stay locked in with the Locked On Titans podcast. But with that being said, I think the Tennessee Titans can absolutely be contenders by 2027. Obviously, they need some things to go their way. They need some things to break right. They need to get lucky. They need to be good. They need both of that to happen over the next couple of acquisition seasons. But I really do think that there is a logical, possible plan for the Titans to be a playoff contender in 2027 and a team that we look at coming out of 2027 as a team that has a chance to compete for a Super Bowl for the next couple of years with the crew that they put together. Now, obviously, the beginning of any contention window, the beginning of any good franchise in the NFL that has a chance to be a true contender starts with a franchise quarterback. And like we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, like we talked about on yesterday's show, talking about Cam Ward breaking out over the last couple of games, Cam Ward looks like the franchise quarterback for this team. He looks like a guy who has the talent that you can build around. He's progressing, he's growing, he's getting better every single week. And considering the circumstances that he's in right now and where the team is at right now and what he's putting on tape and what he's doing, if you were to put an actual contention level roster around Cam Ward, if you were actually to put good coaching around Cam Ward, then again, I believe that the ceiling is unlimited. The ceiling is the roof. As Michael Jordan would say, there is no ceiling. As Lil Wayne would say. I just think that the possibilities are endless with what Cam Ward is showing us right now in the environment that he's in. So you add into Cam Ward, Alec Iomanor as a good rotational wide receiver, Gunnar Helm as a tight end one in the NFL, Xavier Restrepo is somebody who can help out, of course, and be a utility wide receiver, Chim Dike, the weapon that he is, and the weapon that he can be as a gadget guy, and even more than a gadget guy, as just a pure wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball, Peter Skoronski up front on defense, Jeffrey Simmons, you can build around him. Jeffrey Simmons is still going to be a great player in 2027. Cedric Gray, Kevin Winston, Marcus Harris, T'Vondre Sweat, maybe? I don't know how that's going to go. I wouldn't be shocked to see Sweat be traded in the offseason, but regardless, there are players here that you could envision being a part of the solution going forward, and that's a good start for Mike Borgonzi, who has done a pretty good job with this first draft class. And he did sign Draymond Jones, who turned into a pretty good pick that's probably going to help the Titans and maybe even be a fourth-round pick as well. What we've seen from Mike Borgonzi so far gives me optimism and gives me hope that he can get the coaching search right, which is absolutely what has to be the next big thing for the Tennessee Titans. Now, looking at Mike Borgonzi again, the draft class looks like it's pretty solid, but the Jarvis Brownlee Jr. trade, the Amani Hooker extension, which was clearly a bad decision and put the Titans in a bad spot financially. Next year, I mean, they're in a fine spot financially. It's not going to crush them in any way, but I think if Mike Borgonzi could go back and not give that extension to Amani Hooker, he would not do so. Free agency, Dan Moore, hit or miss. Kevin Zeitler, hit or miss. You know, it's fair to look at it and be like, Xavier Woods, Cody Barton, hit or miss. It's fair to look at Mike Borgonzi and be like, we aren't quite sure right now. But I have faith with what we've seen from the draft class, which is really what's going to turn this team around, is Mike Borgonzi being able to draft his butt off. That's what's going to do it, and get the coaching decision right. And that brings me to the next. So the Titans have some building blocks right now that they can build around, the franchise quarterback being the most important of them all. But now it's all about getting the coaching hire right. If the Titans get the coaching hire wrong, nothing that we talk about today, nothing that they do is going to matter. But if they get the coaching hire right, it could turn this team around in an instant. We're going to talk about being contenders in 2027, but you look at 2026, and I think being a contender in 2027 starts with being a much better team in 2026. The Tennessee Titans can be a 5, 6 win, 7 win team at maximum. I'm not going to ask for too much more than that, but hey, this is the NFL. This is the NFL, and we see teams like the Washington Commanders, the New England Patriots, the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers, get a new coach, and all of a sudden, they're able to turn things around and turn things around pretty quickly. So I don't think that it's insane to think that if the Titans hit on their acquisition cycle with free agency and the draft this upcoming offseason, if the Titans do get a great coach, that they could turn things around like that, be super competitive next year, and then the year after that, with another addition of free agency in the draft, be a real contender. That is the path forward for the Titans, but again, it starts with hiring the right coach. And right now, if we're doing my power rankings of head coaching candidates, I still would have Mike McCarthy number 1. I know that in today's microwave society, we all get super bored with names. Mike McCarthy was hot a month ago, not so hot now. But for me, I still think Mike McCarthy is the best fit. He brings stability to the organization, a guy who is a professional, who has run a professional organization multiple times, has had numerous pelts on the wall in terms of playoff success, 12-win seasons, top 5 offenses, a Super Bowl championship, worked with Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and got the best out of them. I think that Mike McCarthy is still my number 1 option for the Tennessee Titans. He's still an offensive head coach as well, which I still prioritize over other things. But Mike McCarthy, number 1 on my list of my coach power rankings right now. I would, though, say that I've changed, and I have Robert Saleh as number 2. San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. Not only is he a schematic wizard on the defensive side of the ball, which I would prefer an offensive coach, but I want somebody who is a gifted scheme guy on one side of the ball, whether they're calling the plays or not. But Robert Saleh is that. He can call plays on defense, be a scheme wizard over there. He also, for a defensive coach, he has such connections to offensive coaches that I like. Think if the Titans were to get Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's little brother. Think about all the connections that Robert Saleh has from the Kyle Shanahan tree. That gives him opportunities that, if Mike McDaniel were to be fired by the Dolphins this offseason, that would be a great option. If not, again, Mike LaFleur, he's had plenty of opportunities to rub elbows with really good offensive coordinators and offensive coaches and staffers under the right tree. I think that Robert Saleh gives you a unique opportunity that most defensive-minded head coaches don't, where he has connections on the offensive side of the ball that can keep the Titans having good offensive coordinators. They can just continue to pump the pipeline with guys under Sean McVay, under Kyle Shanahan, who want opportunities to actually call plays, and that'll give you some good ability to counteract the biggest weakness of a defensive-minded head coach, and that's the offensive coordinator position. But outside of the OC advantages that Robert Saleh presents, his defensive-minded wizardry alone, he's got the sauce. He's got the juice. He can be a leader, and this team this organization desperately needs a catalyzing personality, a galvanizing force of personality to lead them back to relevancy. That's what they need right now, an identity coach. And Robert Saleh does present that. Even more than Mike McCarthy, Robert Saleh presents that. So Robert Saleh is firmly number 2 on my candidate list. But number 3, I'm not going to back off of it. I still think Cliff Kingsbury would be a great option. Look what he's done with Jaden Daniels. You know that you're going to have a high-functional offense. He is making Marcus Mariota look good as a backup quarterback. I really think that Cliff Kingsbury is an absolute wizard on offense that would get the best out of Cam Ward. But is he that leader for an NFL locker room? That's the question. A lot of guys get better after they fail. A lot of people in life get better after they fail first. And Cliff Kingsbury has failed as an NFL head coach before with the Cardinals, but I think in his second trip, he could really make some improvements. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator from the Seahawks, I'm not certain he has the leadership abilities right now to take that spot, but definitely a wizard on offense. Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, very interesting option. That defense is fantastic, and he's another guy who has a good pedigree in the NFL, but would the Titans take a chance on a Kubiak, a Shula, who's never been a head coach before? I don't think they're in a position to do that. And some other head coaches who might be fired or could potentially part ways, Kevin Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, getting sick of him in Green Bay. I know they're off a win right now, but hearing some crazy conversation there. Titans need to keep their eye out for head coaches that are fired by their teams in the NFL this season who are really good coaches who just, it was time for a change. I think that would be the case for Kevin Stefanski or Kevin O'Connell if people get crazy and fire those guys. But I doubt any of that happens. Mike Tomlin, God forbid, the Steelers part ways with him. I think you'd have to give him a look as well. But with that being said, the Titans have to get the head coach hire right, and I think if they hire Mike McCarthy, they hire Robert Saleh, they are well on their way to doing exactly what I think they can do. But at the end of the day, they need players. Let's talk about the draft and free agency.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, putting our two-tone blue glasses on, and looking ahead at a bright future for the Titans that could lead to contention by 2027. Again, we talked about the building blocks the Titans already have, including Cam Ward as the franchise quarterback. We talked about faith in Mike Borgonzi to pick the next head coach, and I gave you the two names that I think could make this happen. It's Mike McCarthy and Robert Saleh. But now we got to talk about the roster, because after the quarterback, after the head coach, obviously it's about building the most competitive roster that you possibly can, and the Titans are going to have 2 player acquisition cycles to add enough talent to become a contender in 2027. I think they can. Let's talk about the big needs, what could fill those needs, especially at the top of the draft, and how that draft trade that lies ahead for the Titans potentially could be exactly what they need, the turbo boost that they need to get this thing going. Do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. But you go to the draft this year. If the Titans were to get the #1 overall pick even if they were to get 2 or they were to get 3 and, someone wants to come up for a quarterback outside of the first one that's taken. I think the Titans are going to be in a tough spot to get one of those high picks if they don't get number 1, because the Titans have the strongest strength of schedule in the entire NFL, which means that if they're tied with anybody in terms of their record, they're going to get a lesser pick than those guys. That's just the way that it works in the NFL. That's their tiebreaker. So the Titans essentially have to have the worst record in the NFL if they want to get the number 1 overall pick. Otherwise, they'll fall to 3, 4, 5, 6 if things go really wrong. So that's something to consider. But if they were to get the number 1 overall pick, that would be the path. Say the Titans beat the Saints in week 17 and they get 2 wins, and those are the only 2 wins they have, and everybody else gets another win that's at 2 right now. The Titans win 2 games, go 2-15. They get the number 1 overall pick. That's probably, it would be tough. It would be difficult. It would be a rough finish to the season to watch that happen. They would lose to the Browns with Shedeur Sanders. That would be a terrible conversation for a week for Titans fans. It wouldn't be fun. It would be painful. But that is probably what kickstarts the path to being a contender in 2027, because if the Titans can get the number 1 pick, which seems more valuable than ever now, sounding like Dante Moore's going to go back or transfer, sounding like Ty Simpson out of Alabama may not come out in this draft. And if that happens, you're looking at Fernando Mendoza, and you might not have any other quarterbacks that teams even care to draft that early in the first round, making it even more important for the Titans to have the first round pick, but also making the first round, the number 1 pick, even more valuable if there is only one quarterback worth taking that high. So if the Titans can get that pick, and let's say Fernando Mendoza is the only quarterback worthy of a top 10 pick in this draft, the Titans have number 1 and they do a trade back. And I think in that scenario, with the supply and demand factor of the quarterback position, with the Titans having the number 1 overall pick and being able to hold it hostage with multiple teams like the Raiders, like the Browns, like the Saints, like the Rams, maybe even potentially looking to make their move. There are other teams out there, I'm sure, that I'm not saying, the Jets as well, looking to get a quarterback. With the demand and the supply, the Titans could get a king's ransom for that pick. Imagine if the Titans got, and they're the Browns, the Rams, the Jets, with multiple first-round picks in this year's draft. What if the Titans got 2 first-round picks this year from the New York Jets, who are picking 4th, 3rd, something like that. And the Titans get 3 and, what's the Dallas Cowboys pick or the Colts pick that's, early 20s, late teens, somewhere in there, maybe mid 20s if it's the Colts pick. Get one of those. And then with pick number 3, the Titans draft Arvell Reese or Ruben Bain. Heck, maybe they draft Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate. If they're able to do that, think about the big positions of need for this team. Edge, wide receiver, cornerback. If the Titans were able to hit one of those with their early first-round pick in a trade back, whether it's edge or wide receiver, which I think is the most likely in this draft. Let's say it's edge, because I see that much more likely. If they're able to hit edge with Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, and then with their second first-round pick this year, get the top cornerback on the board, which that looks like about the range where you might get the top cornerback on the board. Imagine if they were to get Jeremiah Love. Imagine if they were to get Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and Jeremiah Love. Imagine if they were able to get Ruben Bain and Casey Concepcion, or a Denzel Boston, or even a Carnell Tate if he happens to drop that far, or a Mekhi Lemon, or a Chris Bell. There are so many good receivers that are going to be available in that back end of the first round, early second round range. The Titans could also use their second round pick, which is going to be super high, and add another high-level player at one of those spots. They would be stacked. And considering the supply and demand nature of the first overall pick, like we talked about, the Titans likely would get a first-round pick in next year's draft too. So imagine that you get edge, wide receiver, and then any other position with your top 3 picks in this year's draft after a trade back. And then next year, you go into 2027 where you have, and it's going to be an elite draft. And you have a Jeremiah Smith, a Ryan Wingo, a Ryan Smith, Colin Simmons from Texas as an edge rusher. If the Tennessee Titans can get, Reuben Bain, Denzel Boston, Chris Bell, Jeremiah Love, next year have their first-round pick and another first-round pick. You can move up for a Jeremiah Smith to get your number 1 wide receiver. You could get a top wide receiver in a great class and another edge rusher or a top cornerback. The Titans would be absolutely loaded. And think, Mike Borgonzi just got 3 good offensive weapons in the 4th round and a potential starting slot cornerback in the 6th. We're talking about the first-round picks that they could have at their disposal. Imagine if they had those first-round picks, and then the Titans could have 2 4th-round picks this year. Right now, they have 2 5ths. They have 2 6ths. The Titans can move all around the board. Imagine the work that Mike Borgonzi could do, and we haven't even talked about free agency, where the Titans are going to have gobs of cap space. The possibilities are endless. The ammo is endless if they get that first. And even if they don't get that trade back, they still have their picks. They still have the ability to move around. But if the Titans are going to be true contenders by 2027, you have building blocks with Cam Ward and others. You hire the right head coach, which I think is Mike McCarthy or Robert Saleh, to lead the organization. You get a trade back from the number 1 overall spot and load up on draft picks over the next couple of years. You hit your biggest positions of need with high-level star players and 2 good drafts, because this draft is really good with edge rushers and wide receivers in the top, and next year's draft is just incredible all over the board, giving you ample opportunity to fill your needs. And then Mike Borgonzi continues to hit his mid-round picks out of the ballpark to add good starters to the roster. And, you do that over the course of 2 more acquisition cycles with the quarterback and the head coach in place and a good general manager who's not perfect, but is good. He doesn't need to hit on every pick, but is good. That's a true contender in 2027. That's a true contender that can be ready to go, that can be competitive in 2026 and be a real contender to win this division, make noise in the playoffs in 2027. You pair all of that football stuff with the potential that this team has to rewrite the narrative about the franchise with 2 off-the-field things in 2027. Again, I know the night is darkest before the dawn, folks. And I do believe that these 2 years of Tennessee Titans football that has been terrible can truly set us up for this team to become not only just a competitive team like we saw with the Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill Titans, but to change the way that the Tennessee Titans are viewed as a franchise. And again, some off-the-field items that I think really can make that happen full force in 2027. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to 4th quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Under on points, over on rebounds, over on three-pointers, under on assists. This team's going to win. Put it all together, folks. It's going to keep every game exciting, especially when it's your team that's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Again, I hope you guys are having fun. I'm having fun talking about what the future could hold for the Titans. If things break right, I really do think they could be true contenders in 2027. Cam Ward is a building block. Mike Borgonzi doing good work, hiring the right head coach, hitting on some draft picks after a trade back. It's all very, very possible the Titans could turn this thing around in a couple of years. Now, along with that, again, there are some things off the field that I think could have a big impact on how the Titans are viewed and their status within the NFL. Do want to thank you again, though, for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. But number one, the new stadium. The Tennessee Titans are going to open a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. We just saw last week they had the final beam or what the top out ceremony. I don't know enough about construction. I did not know what that meant when I saw it. But the top-off ceremony where the Titans put the final steel beam on the stadium. The stadium isn't done, obviously, but the structure itself is built. It's a big moment in the process. And this stadium, Roger Goodell was there for the ceremony and doing press conferences and said, you know, this city is ready for a Super Bowl. And I think that while it may not be the Titans who play in that Super Bowl right away, the fact that the new stadium is going to open, it's not going to have the freaking houses on the end, and hopefully they totally revamp the in-game experience to be more modernized. And listen, I know you're in Nashville. I know it's the home of country music and all that, but we got to modernize some of the stuff. The Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, we got to quit playing that. Some of the music choices, they got to be more high energy. Like, it's 2025. It's going to be 2027. I know that the city is built on country music, but even some more modern country music, like they got to spice up the environment. And I'm hoping that they will take a long look at how to revamp things. And shout out my guy Titans Rossi for really full court press this year on trying to get the Tennessee Titans to take words from the fans about how to, spruce up the in-game process. But the Titans get a brand new stadium. It's going to be state-of-the-art. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be unique. It's going to be fun to go to. It's going to make the games look cooler. It's just going to raise the profile of the Tennessee Titans franchise. And especially with how often visiting fans visit the stadium, it's just going to give the Titans a new sense of respectability. And then I still believe, and it's quieted down, but I still believe that the Tennessee Titans will have new jerseys by then. They will usher in a new stadium with new jerseys, commit fully to the Houston Oilers colors, like they have this year. We haven't seen dark blue all year, folks. They're telling you already. So I think they're going to redo the helmets, which is going to totally get rid of the dark blue. They're going to commit fully to the light blue and the white. They're going to simplify the jerseys, lean heavily on Tennessee and the Oilers colors combined together, and I think they're going to have slick new jerseys that are some of the best in the NFL. They're going to have a brand new stadium that's awesome. They're going to have Cam Ward heading into his prime, really proving that he's a franchise guy, with a coach that knows what he's doing and can lead a franchise, with a GM that's great in the draft, can put the roster together, and a team that's ready to contend for real playoff success by 2027. That's the vision for me. That's the vision. If the Titans turn this thing around and are contenders by 2027, that's exactly what it looks like. Cam Ward is the franchise. They pick the right head coach. They hit in the draft and get good opportunities with more picks. They hit in free agency with solid veterans, but don't prioritize that too much because they're doing good work in the draft. Their players grow up together. They open a new stadium. They get new jerseys. And the Tennessee Titans not only are a competitive football team, but they're a team that's cool, that people respect, that people like, that we're all proud of. That's the vision going forward. That's me with the two-tone blue goggles on. So let me know what you think the ideal build for the Tennessee Titans is going forward. Again, as all of this stuff actually unfolds, I'm going to be here breaking it down, so make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.